Greetings, my little guzzlers. It's an afternoon baking session, and we're going to make a cake, basically another CupCake Jemma cake, which I noticed you made this ombre heart Valentine's cake. Well, being that it's gone Valentine's now, I'm not going to do hearts, but I'm going to decorate it. So the cake's going to be the same, but I'm going to decorate it slightly differently. But we're going to go for the ombre look, which I'll explain that in a minute. So for this, you're going to need 4 eggs. You want 300 mils of buttermilk, 300 mils of cold coffee, 260 mils of vegetable oil, 480 grams of caster sugar, 435 grams of plain flour, 80 grams of cocoa powder, 1 teaspoon of bicarb, and half a teaspoon of salt. And that's for the cake. Now, her recipe is to make 4 6-inch cakes. I'm making 3 8-inch cakes. Okay, and then we will get on to the buttercream filling and coating, if you like, later. So I'm going to start by taking my eggs. I'm going to add that oil, the buttermilk, which incidentally I couldn't find, so I made my own. Again, according to CupCake Jemma's recipe, which is basically you add a teaspoon or tablespoon of lemon juice to the milk, let it stand for at least 15 minutes. Okay, it has the same effect. What else have I got to put in there? And the coffee. Okay, so I'll put all that in there. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to whisk this all nicely together. So that's got that all the eggs all broken up and mixed in. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put the sugar and the cocoa powder and the salt, bicarb and flour through a sieve. Okay, get out any lumps, and then we're just going to smooth all that together to another nice smooth batter. So got that into a nice smooth batter. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, I've got some already buttered and floured tins. Okay, I've got my oven, fan oven on, getting up for 170. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to distribute this amongst the tins and try and do it with the jug so I don't make a bloody mess everywhere, and I'll immediately make a bloody mess everywhere. So I'm going to get this into the tins, and then like I say, that's going to go into the oven where we're going to bake it for about 22-24 minutes, basically until the skewer comes out nice and clean. So while the cakes are cooking, while they're baking, what we're going to do is we're going to make up the buttercream filling. So it's going to be a plain buttercream to start with, but we're going to be flavouring it with one of CupCake Jemma's favourites, raspberry goo. Now she has a recipe on there for making this. I think it's 400 grams of frozen strawberries, or raspberries in this case, and about 125 grams of caster sugar. You just heat the whole lot together in a pan until the fruit's gone nice and soft. Mash it all up, and then it's up to you whether you want to strain it or not. I like the pips in my raspberry, so we've kept it in there. So I made some of that yesterday. That will be going into the cake as part of the filling, but also to flavour and colour the buttercream. But we want a large quantity first off of just plain white buttercream. So in here I've got 500 grams of butter, and I'm going to start by just whipping that up till it's all nice and pale and a bit fluffy. All right, and then I've got in here, I've got icing sugar, 800 grams of icing sugar. I've got some vanilla extract. We'll add about half a teaspoon of that, and 3 to 4 tablespoons of whole milk to go in there as well. So I'm just going to get this whipping, nice whipping. So that's that butter nicely whipped up. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to add in half of that icing sugar and get that whipped in. Okay, I've got my guard on top because you know what it's like. Bloody stuff goes everywhere as it's already going down the side. So we'll get all that in, and then when we've got both lots of icing sugar nicely mixed in, at which point we'll add the milk and the vanilla. So the cakes are out the oven, and what I've done is I used a bowl because I don't have any cake rings to cut it with, and just took the edges off. Okay, I actually haven't got an example there, it's the top. Just so they're all exactly the same size, nice straight edges, and they get a bit crusty where they're up against the tin. And then I've used the cake leveller just to take the top off. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to prepare some like buttercream. So I've got that nice whipped up buttercream, and I'm going to take a quantity of that. Okay, and just going to cover this up. And then I'm going to take some of this raspberry goo, okay, and I'm just going to add a tablespoon of that, and I'm just going to fold that into it. Now we're going to use this nice darker pink colour. Now obviously this, like I said, she's got the seeds in it, so you will get the bits in it, okay. And we're going to use this, and now I've deliberately not made too much because I want to keep some white buttercream to do a crumb coat on it. Okay, so I can always make up some more if need be. Okay, but we're going to use this as the, actually say, I'm not actually using the white for the cream, for the crumb coat, sorry, but I want some white to do the main coating, or I might change my mind, I don't know. So anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a cake board, and we're just going to use a small piece of that just to glue the cake in place. So I'm going to take one of my slices of cake and just line that up in the centre of that cake board. So there you go, that's on there, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a generous dollop on top, and we're just going to spread that out. Now I probably want a bit more than that, because this will get crumbs off, which is part of the reason we do a crumb coat. I didn't want to get contaminating too much of the buttercream. Okay. My cake might be a little bit warm. It's not sticking too well. Now again, it doesn't matter if it goes over the edges, because like I said, we're going to make a little crumb coating to seal in all them crumbs. Now I've got quite a thick layer there, and what we're going to try and do now is just gently remove a portion out the centre. Now I still haven't located my turntable, so I'm having to do this by hand, but what you can see here is I've created like a little well, and what we're going to do is we're going to take some of that goo, and we're just going to put it into that centre well, and then there we go. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm then going to put the next layer on top, another layer of buttercream, scrape out the centre, and then fill it with a bit more goo before we go for our top layer. So with the final layer, what you do is you tip it over, pick this up from Jemma, tip it over, sorry, and the side that was against the tin, bottom of the tin is now on top, because that gives us a nice flat top. Now, whilst I was trying to do that second layer, it was doing the buttercream in it, ready to put the top layer on, it's the layers are sliding a bit. That's going to mean it's going to be a little bit awkward to try and do the crumb coat. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this in the fridge for about half an hour, and that will then help that firm up a little bit. And then what we'll do is we'll take some more of that pink stuff. Might just have to have a little bit more made up. And then we're just going to give it a thin coating all the way over, and then it will go back into the fridge for half an hour to set. Okay, so that's going to go in the fridge for a bit. I'll catch you later. Okay, so this is a bit firmer now. It's not as wobbly as it was earlier. So what we're going to do now is basically give it a crumb coat. So what we want to do is go all over the cake. And give it a good coating. It doesn't matter if we make a mess. On the board, because we can clean that up afterwards. But what we want to do is effectively seal in all those crumbs. Okay, so all I'm doing is just going all over the cake. Get a nice, got a bit of cake come out there. Smooth finish. Okay, we're not worried about cake showing through. We just simply want to seal in them crumbs, and then like I say, that's going back in the fridge for up to an hour before we will then coat it properly. So there's the cake. It's been chilling for almost an hour, and what we have done here is I've taken some plain white buttercream and I've sieved, because I want a nice smooth coating, I've sieved some to get rid of the seeds, and I've added a small amount in there, which might not be very obvious in this light, but it's very pale pink. And what we're going to do is we're now going to give this a nice coating all over in this pale pink, and then what we're going to do is add some more colouring. This is where you really want a turntable. We're going to add some more colouring, ready to pipe some stuff on it. So at the moment I just want to get a coating all over that cake, okay, covering up that darker pink that's underneath. So I've gone all over it, and I've used my cake smoother just to go around and smooth it. Now it doesn't look that great, a couple of patches where the undercolour is coming through, particularly around the top there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip that back into the fridge to chill for a bit longer, and then we'll do a final sort of tidy up before we do the piping. Now while it's in there chilling, what we're going to do is we're going to colour some of the remaining buttercream, because we're going to decorate it. So I'm not too concerned about around the base, because the intention is to pipe some coloured buttercream around the outside, starting at the bottom, not necessarily going all the way to the top. So I'm more concerned with around the top, and we'll want a nice finish on the top, because again I'm probably going to leave that blank. Now it's called an ombre because ombre comes from French meaning shaded, and the idea being we're going to start with a darker colour at the bottom and then gradually lighten as we go up. So we may finish off with some of this pink colour that we've done the base colour in just below the top, or we might just go for some dark colours. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to darken up, split this up, the remaining buttercream. Now you can either make a big batch up of the really dark stuff and then have enough white in reserve to dilute the colour down, or you can just do it how you like. But essentially I'm going to continue to use that sieved raspberry goo to get my colour. So I want probably 3 colours. Okay, so I'm going to be preparing that while that chills for a bit. I've produced a much darker pink, and what I'm going to do is I'm now just going to do some simple with a large sort of star-shaped nozzle. I'm just going to go all the way around the bottom with this darker pink. This is where having a turntable helps a lot. And the idea being, we're going to do a layer of this darker colour all the way around, and then we're going to lighten it up a bit. Be careful, because I've noticed as I'm going around, some of these are starting to get a bit smaller. So there's one layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the rest of that back in that bowl, and then we're just going to lighten that up a bit, and we're going to do the same again but with a lighter colour. And there you have it. Now, because I had some of that buttercream left, just to tidy up that top edge, I did a layer and then had just enough to just do another single layer inside. This is probably going to drop it now. So there we go, you can see the graduations. So the ombre, as it's called, the shading as it gets lighter as it goes up, and inside there is a nice chocolate cake with a raspberry buttercream filling with some hidden raspberry goo to give it that extra tang. So there you have it, the ombre cake, courtesy of CupCake Jemma's recipe.